A bachelorette walks into a California mansion and introduces herself to 25 single, available, and eligible bachelors. In order to advance, each of these 25 prospects needs to qualify themselves by making it past each week's rose ceremony, ultimately leaving the bachelorette with the best of the best to marry. If your online advertising is suffering because you're acquiring cold audiences to marry your brand at first sight, then maybe you could use a little help from a rose ceremony or two. I'm Adam Seguito, and this is Intentional Advertising. As we covered in our last video, one of the most common mistakes when it comes to digital advertising is focusing too tightly on ROAS, or return on ad spend. What this would typically do is force you to tighten the top of your marketing funnel, and it will also distract you from some other pretty important numbers, like how many people is your advertising actually reaching, and given your target market, does this even actually make sense? Let's take a leaf out of the Bachelorette. Rather than focusing on the tiny portion of people who will be prepared to marry your brand at first sight, as in buy from you today, far better to start with a much larger pool of potential prospects who can get to know you better over time and who can pre-qualify themselves as their interest in your brand grows. For example, let's say that your target market is mums in Australia. Your current activity may be giving you a very high return on ad spend, but how many people are you actually reaching? For example, let's say that you're reaching 500,000 mums. That sounds like a lot. However, the last census in Australia revealed that there's actually 6 million mums in Australia. So as impressive as 500,000 sounds, there's actually 10 times more market available than you're currently reaching. Analytics evangelist Avinash Kaushik would describe this 6 million mums number as the largest addressable qualified audience. So the first takeaway for today is to figure out for your brand, what is the largest addressable qualified audience? What's the potential that you're dealing with online? And do your current activities line up with the full potential that's available online? Now that we're open to starting with the largest potential pool possible, where do we go from here? Well, let's take another leaf out of the Bachelorette's playbook. Each week, the Bachelorette must make a clear decision that either qualifies a prospect as someone that she would like to keep investing into, or eliminates a prospect as someone that she should pretty much no longer waste any more time with. Here, the successful prospects need to earn a rose at each week's rose ceremony. So what's the digital equivalent of a rose ceremony for your brand? What are the clear success metrics that will tell you when one of your prospects is beginning to take more and more of an active interest in what it is that you're offering? How do you know who the people are who you should be investing more of your time and more of your resources into? And just as importantly, who are the people who you should stop spending any time and resources in simply because they're just not ready? If you're reading between the lines, you'll realize we're now talking about marketing funnels. Now, there are many different names and methods and models of marketing funnels, but to keep things simple in this session, let's just use a simple 3-tier or 3-stage marketing funnel, but the same principles apply regardless of which model you're using. So in this masterclass, we'll use a 3-tier or 3-stage marketing funnel that we call ACD, or Awareness, Consideration, Decision. And starting at the top of the marketing funnel, our awareness tier is basically the coldest audience that we're reaching, and they're the ones who are furthest away from a buying decision. One level down is the consideration tier. So here are people who are slightly warmer, yet not ready to buy, but they may be in researching mode. And the last tier is the decision tier, and these are our hottest prospects and the ones who are closest to a buying decision. Now that we've established our 3 tiers, we now need to set up a success metric for each tier so that we know when someone has progressed through to the next level. Essentially, our digital rose ceremony. Let's take our first tier, awareness, and use that as an example. Here, we're wanting to target our large pool of potentials and take as many of them from being unaware of our brand to being aware. How will we know when someone has transitioned from being unaware to aware? Well, we need some kind of digital trigger. What you decide that trigger to be is really up to you, but what we're after is really the lowest level of commitment possible. Here, we're not after a purchase. All we're wanting to do is know when someone has gone from being unaware of our brand to being aware. That's it. In our agency, for a number of different reasons, we like to use video views as our trigger for awareness. In this particular case, all we're asking of people is to watch a video from start to finish. If they do that without skipping, then at least we can know that maybe they were unaware of our brand before, but now they're aware. After watching a video, they may or may not want to buy from us, but at least we know they at least know who we are. Similarly, let's say someone is aware that you exist, has really never cared for you in the past, but now all of a sudden is starting to show more interest. They've just moved from awareness to consideration. What are the digital triggers that tells you that someone has just made this shift? In the consideration tier, there are many possibilities. They could be something as simple as this person has started coming to your website, or maybe they've signed up to your newsletter, or maybe they've added an item to cart. We call this a micro conversion. And micro conversions vary from brand to brand and industry to industry, and a lot of this will depend on what kind of digital activities you're running and also the volume of traffic that you're getting to your website. And finally, to the easiest part, what's the success metric for your decision tier? You probably already know this because likely you're already doing it. Whether that's a purchase for e-commerce or whether that's a sign up for lead generation, whatever it is that you're using as successful decision, we would call that a macro conversion. So now you should have a clear idea of your marketing funnel. You should have a clear understanding of what your tiers are and a clear understanding of what the success metrics are for each of your tiers. As we've discussed so far, we would consider success for awareness to be a video view, success for consideration to be some kind of micro conversion, and success for the decision tier to be some kind of macro conversion. Now that you set up your tiers correctly, the last part is joining all the tiers together so that people who are progressing through your funnel are flowing nicely from awareness through to consideration, through to decision. The Bachelorette just wouldn't work if candidates you rejected in week 1 all of a sudden reappeared for no reason and replaced legitimate prospects halfway through the show. To stop this from happening, the key that ties your entire funnel together is saved, otherwise known as custom audiences. For your funnel to work, the output of one tier must become the input to the next tier. Only those who are progressing further down your funnel should be marketed to further. Without the proper use of saved or custom audiences, you actually don't have a funnel. You have targeting, but people aren't cleanly progressing from one tier to the next. In fact, you're probably mingling people who've been rejected with people who are progressing legitimately. Therefore, you're confusing the algorithms and you're probably wasting a lot of time and money. So let's see how all the pieces fit together in a hypothetical example. Let's say we're targeting Aussie mums. We might start with an awareness tier campaign that runs an RNF buy to reach our largest addressable qualified audience, our 6 million mums that we mentioned earlier. To ensure we're reaching only mums who are unaware of our brand, we're sure to exclude anyone who's on our email list, anyone who's following us on social, anyone who's been to our website, and anyone who might have watched any prior videos. To this audience of now mums that we know to be unaware of our brand, we then show a branding ad, a video ad. And so any mums who watch the entire ad to the end and don't skip, we place in a video views audience. In the consideration tier, we then retarget this video views audience to find out which of these mums who've now watched our videos would be prepared to complete a micro conversion on our website. Those who then complete this micro conversion, we place in a consideration audience. Finally, in our decision tier, we then retarget this consideration audience to find out of these people, how many would be prepared to then go and macro convert. So that's either purchase from our e-commerce store or do a lead gen sign up of some kind. As an option, we also might want to place these macro converters into yet another audience, a decision audience, that we can then further retarget down the track if we want to do some kind of retention campaign. In this way, we're both reaching our largest addressable qualified audience, and at the same time, we're qualifying them as they work their way through the funnel. The most important part about all this, though, is that this is how we work well with the algorithms. What I mean by that is that in each stage of the tier, the call to action or the success metric we're asking of each person in each stage matches their level of relationship with the brand. The algorithms can see this and they reward this. And if we don't do this, if we go too hard too soon, try to get a purchase too quickly, we work against the algorithms and therefore get penalized. In this video, we've learned that firstly, the initial task of advertising is to find out what is the potential market that we're dealing with here. What is the largest addressable qualified audience, and are we reaching them? Secondly, once we know we're reaching the right pool of potentials, how can we set up success metrics and triggers so that we know when they're progressing down the funnel? Essentially, how can we focus all of our time and our resources on those who are progressing through, and how do we stop wasting money on those who are simply just not ready? And thirdly, are we making good use of saved or custom audiences so that we know our funnel is flowing cleanly? Or do we have a leaky or commingled funnel that is working against the algorithms and therefore penalizing us? At the end of the day, if we're doing all these things right, we can now easily find out, 1, how many people are we reaching? 2, how many people are in each tier of our marketing funnel? And 3, how good are we at moving people from one tier to the next? We've covered a lot of ground. Your homework for this video is to now go into your own ad accounts and have a look at your own marketing funnel. First of all, have a look at your reach. Is your reach in line with your largest addressable qualified audience? Your second task is to have a look at your own marketing funnel. Is it clear to you how many people you have in awareness, how many people you have in consideration, and how many people you have in decision? And finally, double check your audiences. Are your audiences truly linking your awareness campaigns to your consideration campaigns, and your consideration campaigns to your decision campaigns? Is there a clean flow of people from one through to the other? Hi, I'm Adam Skeeto. Thanks for watching this video. Do you feel that if your advertising stayed the way it is, that your best days are ahead? Are you going to just watch as the market keeps eating into your margins without putting up a fight? If you're here to learn, click on that subscribe button to get more video content from the team. But if it's time to take action, click on the link in the description box below and get in touch with the team at Intentional. We're here to help you convert potential.